Hi there Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bossk Bounty video, and welcome to episode 4 of Finish the 96. This is a mini-series where I look at all of the original 96 Kenner figures and pick out the ones that Hasbro still needs to release in the modern vintage collection. Some of them have never been done before, some of them need updating from a previous line, and some of them just need a slight correction, whether that be for the figure itself or the card back. As always, I will be using this awesome graphic created by the guys at Red 5 Designs, which showcases all of the 96 figures, something that the Kenner card back never did. If you are new to this series, then I highly recommend that you go back to the first episode, as there is a little more background about the 96 and why I'm doing this series. Also, if you do happen to enjoy this video, please be so kind to leave a thumbs up, as it will really help the video and hopefully find new viewers. Alright then, so with all that being said, if you are a regular viewer, you will know that we ended last week with Chief Chirper. So next on the list is Weequay, Logray and Reese. As all three have been released already, we move on to the Rebel Commando. Now you may think that we already have this figure in the vintage collection, and you would be right. Twice in fact. But the vintage collection version of this figure doesn't really match the character displayed on the card back. Don't get me wrong, it's a lovely figure with amazing details and the soft goods trench coat is great, but wouldn't it be great if we could get an all-new Rebel Commando in his all-in-one jumpsuit, which would much better match the original Kenner figure and the image on the card back. This one is no way a priority, and I would imagine that Hasbro feel that the Rebel Commando has already been ticked off the list of the 96. I just think it's one of those ones where it could be revisited, and then perhaps two of each type could be included in one of the new armor builder packs. Next on the list is Nien Nunb, which we already have, so we move on to General Maiden. Not the most glamorous of characters, but to complete the 96 we are going to need the man with the worst comb over in the galaxy, released in the vintage collection. Last released in 2004 in the original trilogy collection, the figure actually isn't that bad. He even has hinged elbows. Apart from that, the articulation is very limited, but let's face it, the General hardly gets involved in any scrapes. He just stands there looking like a 70s adult movie star, so doesn't really need super articulation, but just needs to look the part. As I said, not the most glamorous of characters or figures, but for the briefing room scene he is a must-have, and of course we need that card back in the vintage collection. Next up is the Gamorian Guard, who we already have, and in my opinion is one of the best figures going, so we move swiftly on to the Biker Scout. Now we do already have a modern Biker Scout on a vintage style card. He was released in the Vintage Saga collection in 2006-2007. However, the figure has been slightly updated since then. The most recent version was released in 2014 Black Series, and it was this figure that was used for the base of the recent Gaming Greats release. But in my opinion, I feel that just like the Stormtrooper, the Biker Scout could do with an all-new skull. I've always felt that the head on this version is on the small side, and the stance of his legs has been created to allow him to sit on the speeder bike. Now I'm pretty sure with modern techniques that they can achieve a way for the figure to look great in poses but also ride the speeder bike. Again, this probably isn't an urgent one, but I do hope that by the time they get around to putting out the Biker Scout in the vintage collection, that they have redesigned him from the ground up. I'm probably asking too much, and the final set of 50th anniversary figures, which will be released this year, will probably include a repack of the Gaming Greats version without the added harness. And to me, very much like the Endor Leia, it will be a missed opportunity. Moving on to 8D8. Now this is the other droid from Jabba's dungeon, last released in the Power of the Force 2 line in 1998. I think it's about time this figure was updated. The Power of the Force version actually isn't too bad, and does come with the added accessory of his execution device. Another figure that perhaps doesn't need a great amount of articulation, but still, to bring him up to modern standards, he will need a lot more than the Power of the Force version offers. Some of these original Kenner figures really don't have that wow factor, but they still need to be released in the vintage collection if we are to truly finish the 96. Not too much else to say about 8D8, so we'll move on, and next on the list is Endor Han, who has been released on the vintage card more times than I've had hot dinners. We've had the Vintage Saga collection version, we've had the vintage collection version, we've had the Revenge card variant. He was also repacked with a slightly different trench coat in the Black Series, and then reissued once again in 2021. again with an updated coat. Now in my view this was probably because they were also releasing the Endor Luke, Endor Leia and a few others from the Battle of Endor in the 50th anniversary, so it kind of made sense. The issue is that the figure is way off today's standards. But alas, we move on. Pruneface or Orimarco, Boba Fett and Chewbacca have all been released in the Vintage Collection, although saying that it would be awesome to have an all-new Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett, which is of the standard of the new Return of the Jedi Boba Fett, but on a Star Wars card, which was his debut card back in the Kenner days. But for now, we will move on to the Bespin Guard. One of two Bespin Guards to grace the Kenner lineup, this version will be the easiest for Hasbro to do. The 2009 Legacy Collection version is a decent enough figure and could be repacked into the Vintage Collection on this card back. I personally would prefer an all new head sculpt with better matching features, but still, the Legacy Collection figure is a lot better than some of the other figures that have been used to fill gaps in the 96. Here's looking at you, Mr. Trenchcoat. So there we go, the next 5 figures needed to finish the 96 and the end of episode 4. Join me next week as I look at the next 5 figures in the lineup. Thank you all so much for watching, I hope you're enjoying the series, and special thanks to my Patreons and channel members. I really appreciate your continued support of my channel. Thank you all so much for watching guys, and we shall see you on the next one.